Hey everyone, it's Jason Dunn here from Laptop Thoughts, and this is my review video of the Motorola XOOM. I just like saying it that way. So this is an Android 3.0 honeycomb tablet, and I've had this now for about a week and a half, and I've used it quite a bit. I've learned as much as I could about the Android operating system. As I mentioned in my unboxing and first impressions video, which I'll put a link up right here, I've never used an Android phone before, or at least not more than, for a few seconds. So this is the first Android product that I've owned. So I had, I basically was coming in with zero knowledge of how the operating system worked. And so I think that that allowed me to give it a really fair shake. I didn't really have any preconceptions. I didn't have any expectations of how it was supposed to work. So let's talk a little bit first about the physical hardware. This thing weighs in at 1.5 pounds. 1.5 pounds is hefty. Frankly, it's too heavy. This is a first generation product. Obviously, as Motorola continues to evolve the product line and technology improves, we're going to see this shrink, but that is one thing to be aware of. 1.5 pounds. It feels okay when you first pick it up. It's like, okay, yeah, that's not too bad. It has some heft, but I have no problem holding that. But if you kind of hold that out in front of you, after a couple minutes, you're like, yeah, this is starting to feel a little bit heavy. So I think that the 1 pound mark is going to be that magic mark. Once they get below 1 pound, I think that'll be really significant. So the XOOM is kind of heavy. Basically all the complaints that people had about the first generation iPad, which was also 1.5 pounds, they apply here. Let's talk about one of the things that I was really not impressed with these ports. The fact that you have a completely custom and proprietary plug for power, that just drives me insane. It would have been totally fine if this only had sorry, something just chimed. You can hear it from the device. You can, if Motorola would have gone just with a mini USB plug, I would have been totally okay if when you plug this in over mini USB over to a standard computer, it didn't recharge, and the only way to recharge it was with a micro USB cable plugged into like an AC, a power adapter. That would have been totally fine, but instead Motorola decided to do this ridiculous proprietary thing, which means you have to carry that pack with you, the AC adapter. It's not very big, but again, I just wish they would have just gone with one kind of connector here. I never actually connected this to HDMI. I didn't have the right kind of cable, but I think it's awesome that Motorola has that built in, and it's not like a different kind of accessory. So yeah, there's that. Now let's power this bad boy up here. Actually, I should point out. Let me turn it off for a second here. I'm not sure if it's gonna come up here because I've already turned it on, but there's actually a little white light there that comes on when you have a notification. That's not bad. And you can actually turn off notifications. So unlocking this thing, I just went with one of these silly little straight ahead patterns here. I wanted to point out one of the key advantages that I think Android has over, boy, lots of glare there. One of the key advantages that Android has, it comes down to these notifications, okay? You can see here I have lunch with my friend Kirk. I just simply tap on it, I tap here, and I can see that I got an email from him, okay? So notifications on this platform are fantastic. This is so much better than what the iPad 2 offers. On the iPad 2, when you get like an appointment, you just get this big thing in the middle of your screen that says, oh, you have an appointment and here it is. You can't snooze it, you can't delay it, you can't bring it up later unless you open up the calendar app. It sucks. It's really bad, really bad. But down here, I'm able to dismiss these notifications, and honestly it works really well. Now let's talk a little bit about the home screen. I'll just kind of, boy, it sure is hard to not get those lights glaring. The home screen is fantastic. You may look at this and if you're used to using an iPad or an iOS device, you may look at this and go like, whoa, there's so much information, I don't know where to start. Well, for me, this seems like a grown-up user interface, okay? I really like the fact that I have email widgets here. I can turn it on, I can immediately see my upcoming appointments. I like the fact that I can put a picture of my son here when he was a little baby. I love this YouTube little thing here. I can actually flip through different YouTube videos, which is just fantastic. And actually, let me load up here. Here's one of my own videos. So if I tap on it here, you can actually see this user interface here that loads up for YouTube, and honestly the UI for this YouTube stuff is fantastic. It's really nice. I will go full screen here and you can see what the video playback is like. Actually, let me just skip ahead here so you can actually see some motion and some movement. So it stutters a little bit and then it kind of kicks in and then it sort of starts going. Now I'll let you hear the speakers. Speakers are loud. Oh, okay, let me see here. Muted, unmuted. Oh, that's really weird. What's going on here? Why am I not hearing any audio? Well, so I don't know if that's a bug or what. I mean, actually no. It says, it's hard to see here, but you can see that there's a little X over the icon for the audio. But of course, when if I'm manipulating it, oh, okay. So there are clearly some minor issues when it comes to Android. I have no idea why I can't unmute that. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, but there you go. Obviously Android is a bit too sophisticated for my little brain, but the speakers are loud. You can take my word for it. So I really like being able to arrange icons. I really like, as I mentioned, being able to have these multiple home screens. It's kind of interesting. You have 5 different home screens. But it's interesting because it seems like there aren't really enough widgets. When you go in here, you can actually you can look at all the widgets that they have, and there's not really a whole lot of them. I think obviously that as apps improve, like for instance, I didn't realize this, but there's actually a TweetDeck column. So as developers are able to tie into the Android widget system, you're actually going to see more widgets, which is kind of cool. I think Facebook, here, let me see if I can fire this up or if it'll crash on me again. That's actually one of the minor complaints that I had was just some general sort of application instability. Yeah, so nothing's actually happening here, but basically Facebook would actually come up and tell me that it crashed. I've seen the browser crash, and yeah, there's just a little bit of kind of instability, and I think part of that is just Honeycomb is it's a brand new version of Android, and developers have to optimize their apps and figure out how to work best with that kind of interface. So let's talk about some of the other things that I liked and sort of didn't like about it. So I mentioned that I really liked the home screen. There's a ton of functionality. That's awesome. The screen quality here, let me just see, if I go into a gallery here and I look at a couple pictures, the screen quality is excellent. I don't think it's quite as good as the iPad 2, but it's really close. The screen is fantastic. In fact, let me just quickly punch up the screen brightness so we can kind of see the screen as bright as it goes. There we go, so that's a little bit nicer. And then I'll go back in here into the gallery. I should point out too, the application switching is really nice and easy. I wanna go back to the gallery, boom, I go back to the gallery. I wanna go back into Angry Birds, here's Angry Birds. This is another great example of the screen quality, the fluidity of the graphics and the CPU they work really nice. This thing has a very powerful 1 gigahertz dual core processor. I didn't see any problems, and it's really nice. Right in the middle of a game, you can just pop over and go back to looking at pictures. You see how it switches, immediately, and then I decide I want to go back into the game. Bam, I'm right back in the game. So multitasking is great on Android. What isn't so great is trying to quit a task. When I first got this, I was pressing and holding, and I was doing all these weird like flick gestures to try to figure out if there was a way, like how exactly do I exit an app? Well, you actually have to go into the settings. Like if I go in here and I go into settings and I go into applications, and then I can see I can see what's running right now. And you can kill apps this way, but then when you kill them this way, it gives you an error, a potential error about applications being unstable. Now, I know of course you can get third-party task managers and task killers for Android, but I think it's a bit of a failing of the operating system to not have a way of natively killing tasks. So yeah, there you go. Now I'm gonna wrap up part 1 of my video here. I'm gonna bust this into a 2-part thing because I have a few more things that I want to say about the Android tablet, the Motorola Xoom. So this has been Jason Dunn from Laptop Thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm gonna put up a link to part 2 right here.